Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing great. Yes. So I'd just like to tell you that nowadays it's quite fashionable to criticize the idea of smart city. And today I'd like to do exactly the same, but with a bit of drama. So just think about these padlocks. Do you know what they are? So the story is that Sepp and Jean met in Rome and fell in love. You know, things you do in Rome. Then they went to the bridge and fixed a lock and threw the key into the river. Now the lock stayed there forever, and so did their love. Now that story comes from a book that is titled I Want You, and the story spread all over the world. And we have a lot of bridges with a lot of padlocks in them. And if you think about it, a bridge is a transition point. And with simple padlocks become a point with a meaning, a point where people feel attached, a point with the meaning of love. Just simple padlocks. Now, this story has nothing to do with my talk, and has nothing to do with the rhetoric of smart city, about efficiency, security. You get to work on time every day. When you go shopping, no queues at all. And you know what? You're going to feel really safe because of the CCTV cameras around you. So they say. All these things are fantastic, are okay. They make a city acceptable, but maybe they don't make a city great. That's why we look at Rossano, we thought about launching a new initiative, a global network of people that is simply called goodcitylife.org. The idea is to put together people who are really passionate about cities, that are passionate about doing research and giving people a good life, as simple as that. Now, how we did our research? Well, we actually didn't do anything new. Actually, we went back to the 1970s. We look back at these guys, Stanley Milgram, Kevin Lynch, Jane Jacobs. They did tremendous work in urban sociology in the 1970s. And basically, we are reproposing their work in a new way, because of the internet. Now, I'll give you a couple of examples of projects we were working on. One is related to urban beauty. Beautiful. So, do you remember how Facebook started? You watched the movie, yes. So, Face Mash, you had to compare a couple of pictures and unfortunately, from students of Harvard, and you will get the top 10 of hottest on campus. Now, the same idea, we actually use the same idea, but for cities. So, we built Face Mash for cities. And if I, for example, were to ask you which one of these two urban scenes makes you happier, which one would you say, A or B? Who says A? Ah, come on, don't be shy. Who says B? Brilliant. Thank you very much. So based on that idea, we actually built a platform that is called urbangems.org, as other researchers did. And the idea is that it's a game. It's fun. It takes a few minutes. You get to show a couple of pictures, Google Street Views, typically, and you get to ask which one of these two urban scenes makes you happier, which one is quieter, which one is more beautiful. And having thousands of people interacting with the platform, sharing the score on Facebook, and you make that fun experience, engaging experience, you actually get, as a byproduct, you get the ranking of the picture by beauty, by quietness, by happiness. Now, once you have this ranking, you can actually study the pictures, because with each picture you have a beauty score, a quiet score, a happy score. So you can use computer vision tools to say, okay, the beautiful pictures, what do they contain? So you can basically answer a question like, what makes Londoners happy? What makes you happy? So red brick, sorry. Red brick and Victorian houses make London happy, and gardens, right? Those are in the top two elements that make Londoners happy. What makes Londoners unhappy? Cars. So cars are the worst element you can have in a city, apparently. But there are exceptions. If cars are not cars, it's totally fine. So if cars are parked, they're not on the way of pedestrians, then they're cool. What's the second worst element? Isolated buildings. Isolated building, worst possible element after cars in a city. They don't make Londoners happy. Yet there are exceptions. And maybe you can think about the most obvious exception. Well, one is glass offices that give London its unique identity, as we know, those of us who lived in London. And the second exception is landmarks, right? They're pretty fine. So by here, if you take all these results together in a more serious way than I've done now, you can actually see that all the elements are negative: cars, isolated buildings, versus the positive elements that are about small streets, public gardens. Well, the difference between these two elements is not about aesthetic. It's about social capital. The negative elements contribute to people feeling apart. The positive elements actually contribute to fostering potential for interaction. As simple as that, right? We know that. So now, you can imagine these points on a map. The good street view from the game are actually points on a map, right? So what can you do with points? You can connect them. So we basically connect these points, and we build a new mapping tool. The idea of the mapping tool is really simple. So instead of showing you the shortest path from A to B, it's going to show you the happy path, the beautiful path, the quiet path. And the idea is so simple that when we did tests in London and in Boston, and the people said, why companies are not doing that? You know what? For a few extra minutes of walking time, we have, let's say in a walk of 20, we have 22 minutes, and we are offering a totally different experience to people. Now, in test participants also said, you know what, that's great, but you're missing something. What you're missing? Smell. So I went back to the people I work with, started looking, and I said, you know, guys, we need to work on smell. And they look at me and they say, you're crazy, right? How are we going to possibly work on smell? And why? Well, first of all, why do you think smell is important? Thank you for the support. So actually, smell is important. And it's important because you, as humans, are actually able to smell more than 1 trillion different kinds of smells. Now, this number has been debated with a PNS paper a couple of weeks ago. Some people are saying 100,000, maybe it's not 1 trillion, who knows, right? But the point is that if you look at your nose is actually a big data machine. Hey, you didn't know that, right? So you learned something today. And the really cool thing is that if you think about it, so imagine a pie, right? 1 trillion, 100,000. Imagine how these smell, these beautiful, ugly smells. And what do city officials do? The city planning deals actually with maybe 20, maximum 50 bad odors. Right? So that's gigantic pie, and you look at really a tiny slice of it. That's how we do city planning nowadays. Now, why is that? Because you basically, you cannot measure it. So, I mean, there are some people in certain US counties and in China that actually go around with a nasal ranger. But since we had to deliver the project in a quarter, and we didn't have a lot of nasal rangers available, we thought about another thing, right? And it was not about sensing, it's different. And the idea we had is that, well, why we don't work with Kate? Kate does her PhD at the Royal College of Art in London, and her PhD is about smell walking. So basically, she gets paid through her PhD to go around the world and take people and ask them, can you smell things? And these people have to say how familiar the smell is, how expected it is, how pleasurable it is, and also have to say what they smell, the keywords. Now, she had on all these Excel files, collectively 258 words related to urban smell. So we said, Kate, we love you. We are going to work with you. And we team up with her. And basically, we match this lexicon of 258 words with social media data. With the tags you leave, when you upload your picture on Instagram or possibly on Flickr, you leave a tag, right? You have a beautiful violet in your picture, and you leave the violet tag. So we look at these tags, and we match the smell-related words with the tags on the lexicon. And since we are geeks and we like graphs, so we look at co-currents. So we build a co-currents graph, where we count the number of times, for example, violet and rose co-occur in the same pictures. Let's say 50 pictures. Then you build this graph and you look at the communities that emerge from this graph, and you look at you have the animal community, the nature community, the mission community. And the result of this totally data-driven work has been the creation of the first urban smell dictionary. In this urban smell dictionary, basically you have nature, food, emission, waste. But the really interesting point, think about the city official example, is that you don't only have negative smells, traffic emission, but you also have the positive ones. Now, what we can see, what we can measure exists, right? And just to make sure that we are not totally crazy, we work with epidemiologists to actually understand whether the cluster that are our cluster of smell relates with official air quality indicators. And they do, to a great extent. So wherever in street segments you have bad air quality, you're going to have traffic emission words. Wherever you're going to have nature words, then the air quality is pretty good. Now, I'm going to play you an example of a video where you have traffic-related pictures, and then by looking at these traffic-related pictures in London for you guys, then you can actually map the traffic. The same goes for nature. You basically look at nature-related tags, and then you can map the naturescape of the city of London. And actually, you can do exactly the same for any kind of smell. So the smell of food, and you can see where you can eat, possibly, this foodscape of the city of London. And we launched maybe last night. If it is up on goodcitylife.org, a new interactive tool where you can actually click on a street and you see the smell layout of that street. And also, you can look where you live. And if you were to live, unfortunately, in Euston Road, then you will see that it's all about traffic, the red stuff. Not much nature, I'm afraid. All right, so here, the point that I would like to make is really, really simple. So here, there are two examples of things that have been totally neglected into urban research, beauty and smell. Why? Because they were difficult to measure. And that doesn't make any sense. So think about, I don't know, who is going to build the rhetoric of the smart city in reality? Well, there are two types of people who can build that kind of stuff. The first are people who actually don't like cities, so they build smart cities. And the second type is actually people who like cities, but they like them rationally. And if you think about the example of the padlock, it's an example that is about emotion. So a padlock is really simple, yet powerful, because it's giving meaning to a place. So I hope that I kind of convince you that when you go back and you do your work in your projects, just try to think about things that are difficult to measure, yet they're simple and as powerful as the padlock. Because at the end of the day, the ultimate goal of the city is to actually give a good life to people. Thank you very much.